Hey, that's really good. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. We're going to talk a little bit about setting the combine basically for soybeans. In our part of Illinois last year, we really struggled with green beans, green stems, cleaning the combine, and I also produce a lot of YouTube videos. And maybe some of you, how many of you ever seen any of my YouTube videos that are out there? Oh my goodness. And I'm not a social media kind of guy, so I really don't know what's going on. I'm just being told that they're relatively popular. But I'm gonna buzz through it here pretty quick today and give you some of the highlights of what it takes, regardless of the color of your combine, what it takes to make it do a nice job in soybeans. So I'm a fourth-generation farmer. My ancestors were Swedish. I also started independent on-farm research back in the middle 80s. And I'm also the founder and the CEO of Calmer Cornheads. Now, on the west side of Illinois, we have silty loam soils, but we still encounter the same obstacles during harvest as what you folks do. This is my dad. It was the first time that I ever saw a combine run in the field. And at that point in time, you can see we're running duals. It's a self-propelled, but it was one of the first self-propelled machines that was cranked out. That's my grandfather. And so the ancestry for me, our ancestors came from Sweden. They were blacksmiths, also farmers. That's one of my brothers up there. And it just goes way back. I have corn harvesting on both sides, both on my mom's side and on my dad's side. This is the fleet of combines that we're now running, that we're testing. The old 2188's on the left there, it's about 25 years old. The 2577's about 15 years old. We have an S680 with a 40-foot draper, and then we've just added the 9120 with a 12-row 30. The two combines on the right switch back and forth from corn to beans. The two combines on the left, the one is set just simply for beans, and the other one is simply for corn. I also would encourage you to teach the next generation how to run the combine. Every fall, I get a call. Dad passed away. I'm in the combine. I need help. So please, teach the next generation. We like draper heads. As we move into the future, I think that's all we're ever going to see. They do a nicer job. But also, when you're buying a platform, there you can get a 2-inch sickle or you can get a 3-inch sickle. Because I no-till, you can see I'm still cutting off some of the corn stubble. That takes a 3-inch sickle. A 2-inch sickle will bridge and it'll temporarily push the root stubble over and you'll get a ragged cut in the field. So we have the 40-foot draper, we're converting it from a 2-inch cut to a 3-inch cut. Now, this is mainly focused toward soybeans, regardless of the color of your combine. The number one phone call that I get is pods in the tank. And I've had that ever since I was a kid in junior high. And then we get high tailings. The solution is cover plates. These are not new. When I was a kid, Dad, we would put them in the old pole combine. And the cover plate simply holds the pods so that we can get them to thresh. Chaff in the sample. We use some MOG limiting inserts. We'll show that to you. But in soybeans, we've got too much material that's getting out of the rotor, and we don't need to. All we want is the soybeans out of the rotor, but we need to hold everything else up there. And of course, sieve loss comes because we've overloaded the chaffer, and so we use slotted grates. I'm going to go through the green combine first and then quickly through the red combine. Hopefully have some time for some questions. The rotor, they've got a bullet rotor, a tri-stream rotor, but I tell everybody, regardless of the color of combine, the concaves that are used in positions 1, 2, and 3 are going to make it or break it. If I got that correct, the rest of the machine's a walk in the park. If I've got something wrong in positions 1, 2, or 3, I've got trouble, and I can spend all day chasing settings from top to bottom. Unthreshed pods in the sample, we've all been there, and we try to close that bottom sieve. Here's the problem. Combines are set up with concaves that they try to use for both crops. The problem is that one's too small for corn, and it's too big for soybeans. But we don't want to switch concaves in between. But you can see that pod drops right between the round bars, and then it cycles back through. And it does it on other machines. And you can look in the lower right-hand corner there, and you can see we're getting some tailings loss on the green combine, or a high amount of tailings, because we closed the bottom sieve. The real problem, because I didn't put in a cover plate. And we're going to make them this year because I understand they're pretty hard to come by. But that cover plate goes right underneath that concave. Now, in this little video right here, we're not going to play any audio, but I'm going to show you where I can just take the regular pod and drop it, and it's going to fall right through there. Now, these are available online. I also have over here on the table a little booklet, and they have little QR codes in here. It'll walk you through the green combine, or it'll walk you through the red combine of what I need to do to get it to perform. So anyway, the pods are just falling through there. I mean, it's common sense. And we've got to close it up and hold it so that they'll thresh. Now, you can buy different concaves, but I don't want to switch in between. Now, if you're in wheat, they have the small wire, which is the one in the middle. That's a concave that a lot of people use for wheat. But for corn and beans, the large wires aren't used much in the John Deere combine anymore because they want to plug. So on the left is the problem. Pods fall right through that opening. On the right, the cover plate is the solution. Here kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like on the inside of the machine. On the right-hand side there, we've got the cover plate underneath. It fills up with soybean stalks, hulls, and whatever. And now I have like a mattress. So those pods are going to rub against pods. Huge. Green, red, yellow combine, I don't care. Huge difference when we cover up that first section. I run about 12 inches of cover plates, and that right there is all that it takes to get rid of the pods in the doggone grain tank. We're increasing the threshing power without increasing rotor speed or decreasing concave clearance. Here's another demonstration where I can dump it on there, and you can see the pod will fall through on the left side, but on the right side, that plate is going to retain that material, and after you make one round, it's filled up and it looks like a mattress. And that's how we rub pods against pods. If I'm combining wheat, the right-hand side is going to fill with wheat straw. I can rub those heads against each other, and I can get them to open. So here's just a little bucket of pods, and we try to make it easy for the mind to understand. But as soon as I dump that on there, you can see they're going to fall through on the left side, but on the right side, they're going to get held long enough so that the rotor has a chance to do its job. Now, when I look in the tank, I don't have any pods. And it's just, I've been running cover plates for 20 or 30 years, and we're making what we call half-wrap plates. Now, the other thing is with fungicides, and our soybeans are becoming, more mature. The beans are ready to harvest, but the stem's not. So in this picture, you can see the green lima beans. You can also see the swelled yellow butter beans, and you can also see normal beans. When we get out on the flat, you mix them all together, and they're still 13%. That tells me my combine is doing what it's supposed to do, because it can handle green ones, wet ones, or dry ones. The hulls, it's just so crazy. Everybody tries to run one concave for all crops. And you can see the MOG is material other than grain, and it just falls right through those round bars, and then it gets down into the cleaning chamber, and we can't handle it. I took this photo years ago, didn't realize the importance of it, but this is a split screen. On the left side, that's what's called an overloaded chaffer. You can read about it in the owner's manual. That is an actual picture of it. What it means is that there is too much excessive, unwanted bean straw and hulls coming down into the cleaning system, and once they come on to the top sieve, the airstream is not strong enough to keep it airborne. So the beans can't fall out, and they actually shake right out the back end of the combine. A lot of calls during soybean harvest. I got beans going out over the sieve. I don't understand why. That's it, right on the left. The solution is on the right. Keep the material, the unwanted material, keep it up in the rotor. So here's a grain loss monitor, and you can see in the lower right-hand corner a lot of tailings. You can buy inserts from John Deere that'll snap in between. It does take a while to get these to fit. The ones I bought from Deere, I had to slit them with a torch, get them to open up. It's best to dry fit these prior to soybean harvest. They're not cheap to buy, but they do work. All we're doing is limiting that air gap that is between the round bars. All I want is the soybean out of there. So these concaves are working like sieves. The only difference is I can't adjust them. So I have to mechanically put these little inserts in between. Now you can see the soybean straw, the hulls, the unwanted material stays up in the rotor. Once we do that, it's a walk in the park. So we have some that we've made. We're going to be offering a kit in 2024, but we're trying to help give you some solutions to get you through this fall's harvest. I can tell you, now is the time to be buying these components, getting them put into your combine. But on the left, all of this soybean straw, the hulls, the unwanted material is dropping right through the round bar, and it's going down onto the sieve, and the sieve can't handle it. And the airstream can't handle it. So that's why we put the inserts on the right-hand side. We want to limit the size of that opening so that it's just the soybean that drops down on the bottom sieve, and we get a much cleaner sample. So we're running quarter wrap. We're trying to make this kit that we're going to introduce for 2024. We're trying to make it easy. We're trying to make it fast. And we're trying to make it simple to install between corn and beans. I don't know about you guys, shell corn in the morning, switch it over. I want to cut beans in the afternoon. These inserts right here, I can't stress how much easier it is to run the combine when we have the right opening size in that concave. Again, on the left, if you do nothing, that sieve is going to be bombarded with straw and chaff. And on the right, it's just a lot easier for that airstream to keep that material airborne. And now I've got clean sample in the grain tank. I don't know about you guys, driving the combine should be the celebration of all the hard work. And for years, I've been running a combine since I was in junior high. And every year I fight that combine. I'm unhappy. I'm chasing the settings from top to bottom, from left to right, and nothing does nothing except to go in and change the size of the opening of that concave. So here's the problem. Pods in the tank, cover plates. Chaff in the sample, it's just, you've got to close up the size of the opening. We need them wide open for high moisture corn, high yielding corn. And when we go to beans, you've got to close them up. This concept that Deere and Case and everybody else uses is one size fits all. It doesn't. I don't use the same plate in my planter to plant corn and beans, both. I use a different size plate. When I'm combining, it takes me 15 minutes to put this kit in, and then I'm ready to cut beans the way I should. Sieve loss is always sieve loss is always because it's overloaded. And now on the Case combine, we're going to run some slotted grates. So we're going to run through here. This is a video. This is what I call a well-balanced combine. You watch the bars. On the left is the sieve loss. In the center is the combo. On the right is the grain loss. And what we're looking at, we don't see any tailings there in the lower right-hand corner for those of you that are running a Deere combine. But what I want you to notice is that the sieve loss and the rotor loss have about the same height. That's a well-balanced combine because I'm getting maximum performance out of the sieves, and then the second bar over is I'm getting maximum performance out of the rotor. The combination in the middle is not very high, but I can tell you I've got a well-balanced machine. It doesn't make any sense to overload the rotor and underload the sieve, or it doesn't make any sense to overload the sieve, underload the rotor. So this is what I'm looking for. I want those bars to be about the same height. For those of you that run green combines, you can see on the left, we have split screen, so I can see if it's the left side of the sieve losing the grain, or if it's the right side of the sieve. But in this scenario here, the left side normally runs just a little bit higher. That's a great video. The other thing I do when I'm harvesting soybeans, I start on the downwind side. I want Mother Nature to help me spread the straw out there. I don't need any chaff lines or tram lines, because I'm going to come back next year and no-till. All right, so we're going to do, sorry there, I blew right by that one. We're going to talk a little bit about the Legacy series. These are the older case combines. They still make them. They call them the mid-range machines. And we run into the same issues. It's going to be kind of a review, just different components. The pods. And right here, you can see the tailings monitor. And by now, it's chirping at me, and it's telling me I've got too many tailings. I don't know about you guys, but I'm cutting 10, 11% beans on the flat. I go around a creek. I go around a waterway. I go around some trees. And I get into some green beans, and that tailings monitor starts to scream at me. The same deal. Pods fall directly through concaves that are used for corn. You can't go with one-size-fits-all crops. You've got to have concaves that are open for corn. You got to close them up when we cut beans. This is the same photo that I showed you earlier. That pod falls through on the left side, and we sell this little cover plate thing. And so you can't, I just had a call on the way while I was driving out here. And a guy said, I cannot find these plates. So we're going to make them so that you can put them on your green one or your red one. And they snap in real quickly. Put them in for beans or wheat, and you take them out for corn. That's that mattress on the right-hand side. And we purposely sometimes pull these concaves out just to get these photos. You have an idea. Once you put the plate underneath, that's what you see on the right-hand side. That's rubbing. As that material goes across there, it's rubbing those pods. I can open a green one, I can open a wet one, and I can open a dry one without having to rethresh it. The other cool thing is, when we make the correct changes to the concave, we can run the bottom sieve wide open. In a red combine, here's what those cover plates look like. Close it up for beans, and then it's an over-center snap. Takes about 5 minutes. We pop those plates out, and they open up when we're shelling corn. So now we've got the tailings down to a minimal amount, and we get clean beans in the tank. Now, the same deal for dealing with chaff. Case runs a large wire concave in these mid-range machines. That opening is large enough, it'll let chaff, it'll let some straw, and it overloads that top sieve. This photo right here, if you're ever running and you're seeing sieve loss in wheat, or you're seeing sieve loss when you're cutting beans, do a kill stop. And open up the back end of the combine and look in there. On the left is the overloaded chaffer, because that material is so thick that the airstream can't keep it airborne, and it won't separate. It'll shake it right out the back of the combine. The other thing is, the left, on all combines, the left side of the machine and the right side of the machine have a lot less air than the center of the machine. Keep the straw, keep the chaff in the rotor area. I don't have any reason to let that drop out of the rotor chamber. It's a liability. If it gets out of the rotor chamber and it gets onto the sieve, that's a liability. I want it to go out the rotor. We use inserts the same way on the red machine, and you can see we've got the large opening on the left, which is great for corn. I mean, we can pick 300 bushel corn, wet, 28%, fly down the field. But when I cut beans, that on the left side's a liability. So we snap in those limiters on the right-hand side. Now I've got clean beans in the tank. It's just so much more fun to harvest when I'm looking in the tank. I got a clean sample. I'm looking at the monitor. I know there's not a lot of beans going out the back. I'm proud of what I harvested, and I'm having fun. I don't know about you guys, but I think I've used every adjective possible to describe my combine when I'm trying to harvest green beans. This is a 3/8 square bar that's used in the red combine. It's great for corn, but it's a liability in beans. It's just too big. And we have to take it out, and it causes that overloading of the sieve. And it causes chaff in the grain tank. And it's just, I wish I could sit down and talk to the engineers at Deere and Case. I am in touch with the lead engineer globally for Case rotary combines, and I have a good connection with that group. I don't have a real good connection with the green people. So we use a slotted grate in wheat or in soybeans if we've got the red combine. And it's kind of hard to see it there in behind, but here's a little better picture of it. That one on the left is for corn. Myself included, we've all tried to use it in soybeans. And I just found this out just last fall. I used to run 2 slots on the right-hand side. I used to run 2 of those and then 1 of the square bar. And that square bar just letting too much material drop out of the rotor cage. So now I run all 3 of them. But you can see here in these little videos the common sense that straw is going to fall through that square bar on the left side. But on the right side, I want to keep the straw in the rotor cage, or I want to keep the wheat straw in the rotor cage. It's still large enough to let the beans drop, but it won't let the straw drop. Oh, where'd we go there? Right here. So I just learned this last fall. Been running this combine for 25 years. 3 of those slotted grates in the separating area. On the Deere combine, I don't have to switch them. On the red combine, I do. These are light. There's just 2 bolts, and it doesn't take very long to pop them out and pop the other ones in. I can't, I feel the same thing, the need to switch from corn to beans. I got to be fast. I got to get back out there. I got to go. I'm telling you, 10 minutes to swap these, and the combine almost sets itself. The best one I got was from one of my employees, called me on the phone. He's running one of our test machines 20 miles north, and it was a red one. And he said, you know what? Once we've got the kit in this machine, he said, it just almost sets itself. And he said, I don't think I could screw it up if I tried. When we do everything correct in the rotor area, that bottom sieve is virtually wide open when I cut beans. Also on the red combine, we have the ability to adjust these transport vanes. You can see the washer, you can see the slot, you can see my finger. So those transport vanes are going to move the soybean straw and the wheat straw out of the combine faster so that it doesn't have a chance to drop out and down into the cleaning system. When I'm shelling corn, then I take these and I move them the other way. One of the reasons I encourage people, if you can afford it or have the time for it, I buy an older combine and set it up just for beans, got an older combine and set it up just for corn. And it really reduces the anxiety and stress at harvest. I think it's dry enough, I go hit the key and I go 20 feet, 100 feet, get a sample. If the beans are too wet, I go right back to shelling corn with the other combine. I've got the 2 red ones, they're 2 older machines, and don't have a lot of money wrapped up in them. One's for beans, one's for corn. I like the grain loss monitor. We're running around 9 to 10 for sensitivity, and you can see we've just got virtually no loss at all, and a clean sample in the tank. So, summarize, whether it's red, green, yellow, or gray, when I'm cutting beans, the biggest problem is pods in the tank. And the reason is because cover plates. I've got to hold the bean in there, I've got to make them thresh. Chaff in the sample comes because I let too much drop out of the rotor. Sieve loss, I'm overloading, and I used a slotted grate for the case combine. You can watch this YouTube video. It's the #1 watched ag YouTube video in the United States the year we released it. We're talking about picking corn. The bottom sieve should be wide open. I don't know if any of you that watch my YouTube videos on combines, this is the #1 watched. It makes the most sense. Open the bottom sieve. I do not want to rethresh the kernel. I do not want to rethresh the cob. Pull the bottom sieve wide open. Clean the grain tank with the top sieve. Fire. If I smell smoke, I grab the fire extinguisher, the flashlight, go looking for it, find it, and put it out. Now, if by chance the fire extinguisher runs empty and I've still got a little bit of flame out there, then I start looking around for some water or something to help put the fire out. So I open up my cooler to get a little more liquid to put on the fire. This is what I have in my cooler and my combine. And then one day, even though I put a couple bottles of beer on, I couldn't get it to put out. So I just grabbed a cold one. I closed the lid, and I went over and I grabbed the coat. And then if you take the coat, you can fan that fire. And if you're really lucky, you can get it to burn. And then I've got a cooler and some beer. I can sit there and drink and watch the combine burn. So anyway, I see I got about 5 minutes left. Like I said, this is my website, and there's an entire section devoted to YouTube videos about setting the combine. Over there on the table is the brochures about the red one, the green one. And simply what they do is teach you the train of thought of what it'll take to set your combine. There's other little information about corn heads and some other things, but help yourself. I'll handle 1 or 2 questions here if we've got time for it, or maybe somebody wanted to ask something about stratification from yesterday, but I think I got about 3 or 4 minutes here. Yes, sir. The old cylinder combine is his question. Do I have any products for that? And years ago, that was the problem with a cylinder machine. It's not easy to get up underneath there to put the cover plates in. So it's almost even more important on a cylinder machine to have one where you can cover it up for beans, have the other one where you pull every other wire, so it'll work great in corn. That's the advantages of the new rotary combine. I can open up the side and I can alter the air gap on those concaves. Good question. Yes, in the back? Have you had any trouble when you're making that? His question is, when we close up that first one, does it create any heat or anything? It has not. We've been running it for a very, very long time. And it's just, once you put one of those cover plates in, and once you see it fill and you crawl back in the machine, you're just like, gosh, how come I haven't been running these cover plates before? But good question. We don't, but we're going to make those half wrap. It's like the band, you know. And then you could buy it from us and then go home and make your own attaching hardware. That's what we tell people that have off brands. But we have it available for all the rotary Deere combines. We have it for the older red combines. One more question? Yes, sir. Anything out for the X9? Boy, I took a lot of fun. There's not very many X9s out there. I think I got a call from everybody that owns one last year. There's some issues there, but we're going to be making a kit that will help the X9 out there. It's suffering from the same issues that the prior combines did before it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. You've been a fantastic group. It's an honor to be here from Illinois. If you ever have any questions, that is my cell phone number. And if you ever watch any of my YouTube videos on setting combine, I always end with that. Feel free to call me because I'm probably running the combine, and I'm probably using the same adjectives that you're using in your combine. But with that, you've been a great group. It was an honor to be here. Thank you very much.